How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I prepped and coated my wheel wells in my Honda Civic here with Raptor liner. So let's roll that intro and get into it. So the footage you're about to see is actually pretty old. I finally got around to putting it all together and editing a video for you guys, but there ended up being a lot more footage than I thought there was. So this is a pretty long video. I ended up putting it all in one because it just made more sense to do it that way. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get into it. So today's plan is to get this wheel well sandblasted and primed. If everything goes well, I'm gonna move to the other side, get the driver's side done as well. But I want to see how this works first. So I've upgraded my compressor setup a little bit. I still have my old 11-gallon Hyundai compressor, but then I also went and got this 20-gallon. So this one is a 2 horsepower motor on it. This one is a 1.8 horsepower. So what I'm going to end up doing, I have them linked together so I can have this one plugged in over here, and then I can plug this one in over here. It's in a separate breaker, so I can have both compressors running at the same time. So I figure that gives me about 3.8 horsepower, and then I also get 31 gallons. So I should be able to run the sandblaster continuously or very close to continuously. So I should have a lot better luck this time than when I was doing the valve cover. Now, if you remember last time, there was a lot of moisture in the air, and I was having a lot of trouble with moisture getting inside the sandblaster and plugging up my nozzle. So the humidity today is a lot lower than it was that day, so hopefully I don't have the same problems. Before I do anything, I want to make sure there's no moisture inside the air tank. So I'm just gonna crack this valve open here. And oh yeah, there we go. Gross. And my new one here, I've only used a handful of times, so I don't know if there's going to be any moisture in here, but well, it looks pretty good. So we should be moisture free inside the air tanks. Alright guys, so I got everything set up, I think. Last time I also had a problem with the sand going through the hole in the bottom. So it would oftentimes get stuck and I would have to shake this continuously to get the sand to fall down. So what I came up with is I'm gonna try to use the vibration of the compressor motor to agitate this thing, and hopefully that's enough to shake the sand down. So I just have it tight up against the motor with a bungee strap with a lot of cracks in it, so I hope it holds up. If we're able to get this all stripped and cleaned up, then I really want to get this primed today as well, so we'll see how this goes. Alright guys, so I took a bit of a quick break to let the dust settle in here, but I think we're pretty well ready to paint this thing. So the sandblaster did a pretty good job getting rid of most of the paint. There's some of the rubberized coating that it could not get rid of, which I'm okay with. These are wheel wells, so they don't have to be perfect. My main concern was getting a bulk of the paint off of here, getting the rust off of here, and getting it scuffed up and ready for paint. So you can see there's some areas like here, there used to be some rust. There's some pitting left there, but the rest of it looks pretty clean. Same with this spot here. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna have to clean up my mess here before I paint anything. So I'm gonna put my respirator back on, get this swept up, then I can blow all the dust off of everything. We'll have to wait for the dust to settle again before I can come in here. But then I'm gonna clean this up with some degreaser, and then I'm gonna hit it with some rust converter, and hopefully that'll seal it up the rest of the way and hopefully prevent the rust from ever coming back, or at least slow it down. All right guys, so I got everything cleaned up to the best of my ability. Got all the dust blown off of everything, so I think this is about as ready as I'm gonna be to start spraying. So I got the car masked off for the most part. I don't think I'm gonna have to do much more than this. So this is all cleaned and degreased, and I also hit it with some rust converter, so you can kind of see now anywhere that there was rust before. Even after I sandblasted it, there's still must have been some residual rust, because the rust converter has made this all dark. Everything in here has turned dark now, so I've rust converted this whole thing. I tried to spray as much as I could in behind this frame rail as well. I also have some welds on the other side, so I tried to hit those as best I could with some rust converter. So I think I'm giving this the best possible chance not to rust. So I've given it a couple of hours. Looks like the rust converter is fully dried, so we are about ready to start laying some primer down. Since I'm gonna have some primer mixed, I figured it would be a good idea to get the valve cover primed as well. So I've actually been kind of sick for the past week or so. I didn't quite feel well enough to tackle anything over here, but I was taking care of some small things. So I got the baffle reinstalled in the valve cover. So now I got the baffle reinstalled and sealed. As you can see, I did not do every single hole, and that is because a buddy of mine, he's actually an H guy too, he's doing the exact same thing on his, and he sent me a picture of the holes that are very shallow, so you shouldn't drill there or you're gonna end up going through the top of the valve cover. So he sent me a picture and told me where to drill and where not to drill, which ended up being very helpful. So I'm glad this is done now, and it is basically ready for paint. I got it all masked off. I'm going to go over it with some degreaser one last time, and then it's going to be ready for primer. So once I have this prepped, I'm going to mix up some primer, and then we should be able to spray this and this. So this is a direct to metal epoxy primer. Depending on how much you thin it out, it can be a filler primer as well as a sealer primer. So we got the primer itself here. We have the hardener and the reducer. So this is the same stuff that we used when we primed the Furious Civic. So we've used it before and we know it's good stuff. So I'm gonna get to mixing this up. So in looking at the data sheet here, it shows the different ratios for if you're doing a primer or a sealer. So it looks like today I'm gonna be doing 2 parts primer, 1 part hardener, and 1 part reducer. So I'm gonna mix this up and see what happens here. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but that sounded like a gunshot to me. I don't know what's going on in town, but I definitely heard a gunshot, and then I heard someone speeding away. So, yeah, hopefully all is well, but I got stuff to do, so I won't let that bother me. All right guys, so it is the next morning now. Everything's had about 12 hours to dry, so let's have a look at what we got here. So this primer leaves a bit of a shiny finish on it. This will need to be scuffed before I paint it. The data sheet says it can be sprayed within 3 days without scuffing, but I'm gonna have to scuff it so I can seam seal everything first before we spray it. So this is actually looking pretty good. I think I hit all the edges that I wanted to. Even if we go way up here, I was able to hit just about everything that I could up there, so I'm pretty happy with it. All the welds are gonna get seam sealed, and it's all gonna be nice and smooth under here once everything is seam sealed. So I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. And the valve cover, I did 2 fairly thick coats on here. I think the finish turned out really good on it, actually, considering I am not experienced at all with a spray gun. But this is definitely going to get blocked out because there's definitely some imperfections in it. There were some areas here where the casting marks were, and I sanded them down, but there's a few imperfections here and there that I might take care of yet. So I'm going to get this unmasked. I'll set it aside for now because I won't be spraying this until I actually get some base coat. So this will be on the back burner for a little while. For today, I want to focus on this wheel well. So basically gonna do the exact same thing I did on the other side. Dang, the crickets are still crazy out there. Anyway, update. It's a couple days later now. I've got the driver's side wheel well sandblasted, rust proofed, and I got a nice fresh layer of epoxy primer on here as well. So driver's side is ready and curing. Passenger side is about ready to be scuffed. So I think that's what I'm gonna get started on today. Basically what I wanna do is scuff this up with some Scotch-Brite, especially in the areas around the seams, because that's where I'm gonna be seam sealing. And then also around all the welds, I'm gonna add some seam sealer to that as well. So once I get the seam sealer done, then I gotta find something to coat this with. I want something that's gonna be durable, but I also want it to be easy to clean. Because I don't want it to be like some undercoats where they get dirty and faded almost instantly, and they're really hard to keep looking nice. So I'd like to try and coat it with something durable that's gonna be easy to keep clean. All right guys, so skip ahead a couple days, and I got both sides scuffed. So during the week, Tim came by and he helped me get the CRX ready for dirt cross. So while he was out, he also helped me scuff the driver's side. So we both tag teamed it and got it done. So everything is scuffed and it's ready to be seam sealed. So this is what I'm gonna be using for seam seal. This is a 3M gray seam sealer, and this is for automotive applications. We actually use it at work for seam sealing RVs, so I think it's gonna do the job just fine. Now this stuff can be applied to bare metal or primed surface. So since we have primer, the way we have to prep it is to scuff it up, blow it off, and then make sure that we're cleaned and degreased around the areas that we're gonna be seam sealing. So we've already cleaned and degreased everything. So this is basically ready to go. So I'm gonna put the tube in the applicator gun and just get started seam sealing. So basically what I'm going to do is start at the bottom. I'm going to run a bead along the seam, and then I'm gonna use soap water to smooth it out. I don't want to go top to bottom because the soap water is going to run down, and if the soap water gets into the seam before I seal it, it's not going to stick as well. So I want to work bottom to top, and that way any soap water that runs down is just going to run over the area that I've finished already. So that should work pretty good. So I'm going to go over all the seams and all the welds and basically anything that it looks like moisture could get trapped in. I just want to smooth that out so that there's no chance for rust or moisture. So let's get to it. All right, so I've cut the end off of the foil pack here, slip the cartridge in, and then on my nozzle here I have just a very small pinhole on here that I'm going to start with. If I need to enlarge it, I will, but I think I want to start off as small as possible, because if you remember from the factory, Honda just kind of globs on the seam sealer and it looks very ugly. So I want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So I'm going to start off with a really small bead, and I want as little waste as possible because this stuff's actually pretty expensive. It was like 30 bucks a tube. So I want to use it to the best of its ability with as little waste as possible. So I think having a small bead is the best way to start. So yeah, I'm gonna get going on this and we'll see how it goes. Well guys, it doesn't look super pretty, but it'll definitely do the job. So I got all the seam seal done on the driver's side. I definitely need a lot more practice with this stuff to get it looking nice because I'm going to be using this stuff in the engine bay as well. And I really don't want it to look like this when I do the engine bay. So I think I'm going to have to pick up some tools that'll allow me to smooth this stuff out a little better. I'm not used to using this stuff. I normally use products like Sikaflex and Thermoplast at work. I've never actually used this stuff before. And this stuff is a lot stickier than that, and it's a lot harder to get smooth. You put any little bit of pressure on it and it just starts to spread. So I was trying to flatten it out as best I could. Like you can see where I covered up some of the welds here. I wanted this to be nice and smooth, but every time I would try to smooth it out, it would basically just spread it around, and then it would make a bigger area than I wanted to cover, and it just kept spreading it. So this is the best I could do. Luckily it's just in the wheel well, and once it gets coated it's not going to be nearly as noticeable. So I'm okay with the way it looks. I'm going to get on to the passenger side now, and hopefully we can get that done. Alright guys, so we are a couple days later now. Passenger side is done and all the seam seal is cured. So I've degreased everything and we are pretty much ready to start coating this. So earlier in the week, I went to the paint supply store and picked up a Raptor line kit. So it came with the gun. So this is just a very simple air gun, and this is the actual product itself. So this kit came with 4 bottles of black and a measuring cup, and then that can down there is the hardener. So basically we measure out the hardener to the right ratio and then add this to the bottle, shake it up, and then the bottle screws directly onto the gun, and then we start spraying. So it's very straightforward. Now this is way more than I'm ever gonna need for the wheel wells, but I figured I'd probably end up using some of this stuff on the 4Runner as well, so that's why I got a bunch extra. So I'll probably only end up using 1 of these bottles today on the wheel wells, and then the other 3 I'll probably save for the 4Runner. But yeah, this side again is all ready to go pretty much. I realized after the fact that I forgot to seam seal these 2 welds, so those ones are still a little tacky. Now I'm going to start masking everything off, so I'm going to do both sides while I'm at it, and then by the time I'm done masking, that seam seal should be dry enough that we can start spraying. So by the end of the day today, these wheel wells should be done. Alright, so I've been working on both sides, got everything masked off. So I think we are ready to start spraying. So I got the paint gun put together. I got a fitting on the end, so we are pretty much ready to go. I got my pressure regulator here. So the instructions on this stuff say maximum 40 psi. So I think that's what I was doing with my primer. So that should be set already to where it needs to be. So pretty much now it's just a matter of mixing up one of these bottles and then attaching it to the gun, and then we start spraying. Now I know this isn't a perfect mask job, but it'll be good enough for what I'm doing right now, seeing as the entire engine bay is going to be sandblasted yet. I didn't worry too much about masking that. I just don't want to get too much overspray right along the edges, because that's going to be a lot more work to sandblast that off. So I think this will be good enough for the job that I'm doing right now, so let's get to it. Now the directions say to spray any hard to sand areas or any shiny areas with an adhesion promoter. So that's what I'm going to do, because there was a few areas that I could not get to. So I'm going to use this Duplicolor adhesion promoter, and that should ensure that the Raptor liner is going to stick properly. So anywhere where I have some seam seal, or there were some areas up top here that were really hard to get to with the sandpaper, I'm just going to hit those with some adhesion promoter and we should be good to go. All right, guys, it's the next day now, and I've had the Raptor liner curing for about 24 hours now, and it turned out really good. So this stuff takes about 5 to 7 days to cure fully, but it already feels pretty solid, like it's not tacky or anything. And any areas where I seam sealed feel pretty solid as well. It doesn't feel spongy or anything like that. So I am very happy with the results. Even when you look in this entire wheel well here, there is a lot of patchwork in here from where I welded. Like there's patch here and a patch here, patch in here. It's not super visible. Like if you didn't know it was there and you weren't looking for it, you'd probably never even know that there were patches in there. On the other side here, I had to add a patch here and a patch here, but even looking at it, you can't even really tell. Like, yeah, if you're looking for it, you'll see it here, but I am very happy with the way this turned out. It feels super durable. I put 2 really thick coats on each side, and that used up 1 whole bottle. So I'm pretty happy with that. I actually thought I would have a lot left over, but it was actually the perfect amount for both wheel wells. All right, guys, well, like I said, that footage was pretty old. A lot of stuff has happened with Frankenstein and the garage in the past little while. So next video is going to be an update for you guys, get you back up to speed on where we're at over here. I'm going to try and get myself back into a routine of making content for you guys. So you can look forward to that. Thanks a lot, guys, for sticking around. If you've made it this far, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We love to hear from you guys, so drop any comments below, and we'll see you on the next one.